That's right, I'm finally doing a video about how to gliss. This isn't quite as big of a thing as it used to be, but I feel like there was a time for any like new clarinet YouTubers or Instagrammers or things like that where everybody would always flood the comments and be like, how do you do a glissando? Oh, how do you gliss? How do you play Rhapsody in Blue? And somehow I've managed to make it almost 2 years on my channel without doing a video on how to do a glissando, but here we are. So the glissando or gliss, or sometimes it's called a smear, comes most famously from Rhapsody in Blue, but it is pretty popular in jazz music. It comes up a lot. Even in lots of classical music, it gets used occasionally. And by classical music, I mean like contemporary classical music, so anything after Rhapsody in Blue sort of made it more possible in classical music. So what it actually is basically a really controlled, slow scale through lots of technically microtones where we're sort of sliding up the scale rather than playing our normal major scale where we hit every single note as we go up. We're sort of smoothing out, smearing through, or glissandoing through all of those notes. You can think the most easy instrument to do a glissando is the trombone because they don't have precise holes or valves that they press to determine the length of their instrument, but it's a smooth slide. So that's sort of what we're doing, is we're going in between all of those notes and getting that smooth smear through the notes. Now, obviously, the clarinet does not have a slide on it, so how do we get this smooth smear through the notes? So it comes down to two things to do a successful gliss on the clarinet. The first thing, of course, is the fingers, and we're actually going to move our fingers up the scale as if we were playing all of the notes, but we're going to add a little extra to get the smear or gliss effect. So instead of lifting your fingers up in that nice, really precise finger motion that we really like to see on the clarinet, we're going to sort of mess up that finger motion. You may have accidentally done a glissando before if you're playing a scale and maybe move your fingers too slowly and you get sort of you can sort of get that start of a gliss effect just by moving your fingers very slowly. It's really, really hard to lift your fingers slow enough to get the gliss. So what we actually do is instead of lifting them straight up, we're going to partially uncover the hole and then gradually do that on each of the next note as we go up. Some people will pull off. I like the sort of pull off method as I go up. Other people will push across, so they sort of gradually uncover this side of the hole and go up. Actually, the first time I learned to do a gliss, I did the push off approach, but after practicing, I sort of discovered that the pull off approach works better for me, but it's really up to personal preference. Now, if we do just the fingers, we get something sort of like this. So that's kind of the right effect, but you hear every now and then, like when we go from the F to the G and then the A to the B, we have a pop up in the pitch because we have this pad here and this pad here that we can't actually slowly open or slowly gliss on because it's a pad and it's not our finger uncovering a hole. So that's where the second part of the gliss comes in, and that's our voicing. The voicing has to do with how we're aiming at the note, and we can actually adjust our tongue position in our mouth and our embouchure a little bit too to change the pitch of a note. So if I play high C, sort of drop my tongue in my mouth, you can hear that change in pitch. So that pitch change that we can get that way is how we're going to cover up these more abrupt or unsmooth transitions with our finger part of the gliss. So the trick here is to get a really good balance of sort of a contrary motion where your fingers are going up and raising the pitch, but simultaneously your voicing is sort of dropping to lower the pitch. And as you sort of balance those and gradually increase, you can get a really smooth glissando. A perfect way to practice this is just going from the F to the G. So what you're going to do is start with the F and start doing a finger gliss, which is going to raise the pitch. But then just as you start to open that last pad and actually take your finger off, and where it normally jumps up to a G, you're going to, at that moment, bend the pitch down so that you're meeting the same pitch that you glissed up to with your finger. So that goes something like this. So hopefully you were able to see and hear that as my finger was coming off, the pitch was going up, but I didn't get that bump up to the G because I was able to pull the voicing down and land sort of at that same pitch as when I took my finger off. Then from there, you use the voicing to bring it back up to the G and then do the G finger gliss as well. Now, I think it's a great idea to practice it this way and really think of that sort of contrary motion between the voicing and the fingers, but in actual performance, it's all gonna sort of smooth out as you go up. And I actually think about a lot of it having to do with my voicing. So if you watch my fingers as I do it, I'm actually getting most of my fingers pretty much off well before the end of the gliss, and then I really take my time with the voicing to slowly tune it all up and get finally to that high C for the Rhapsody in Blue gliss. It takes quite a bit of practice to find that right balance, and you can really play around a ton with the pacing of the fingers and then the pacing of the voicing. So knock yourselves out, go crazy practicing this stuff. This is a great one. It's really famous in like schools when there's a seating audition for Rhapsody in Blue. I remember that during my undergrad, and you just go into the practice rooms and there's just glisses everywhere, and every other instrument in the school is just annoyed because every clarinetist is in the practice room glissing. But it really does take a lot of practice to get this balance and sort of get comfortable and really smooth it out. So I hope that helps you to understand how this works. Good luck practicing. If you have any good glissando tips or questions about it, leave that in the comments and I would love to hear those. But go for it, go practice, have fun, and you can start playing Rhapsody in Blue. And of course, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I do truly hope that it was helpful. And if you're interested in more clarinet tips and tricks and help, then be sure to subscribe to the channel because I release a new video every single week with a different sort of trick and thought on music and clarinet. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in another video.